other close friend, he's in Tokyo.
That's quite spread out.
Yes, most of my friends live internationally, fortunately. Well, there's one issue, Belisarius. I don't have a bike out there. However, I may purchase one and have it shipped back.
Never hurts to have a spare.
No, well, depends.
I mean, I'm just taking it into a joke right now, but yeah, fine, I get it.
Does he ever, since he's over in Berkeley, does he ever go to the Alviso crit races? What should the Alviso or casual crit races? Okay. There are a couple routes I've had recommended, but once again, I won't have a bike out there, and the weather is supposed to be absolutely atrocious. I don't enjoy cycling in the rain. But I do appreciate it. Thank you. Can I do a... Hold on. Let me see something.
Numbers, quite funny. Someone posted this. Give me a second to upload it. It's basically like the future for the Swedish stock index.
Okay.
He was up 100 and 150 grand on his position, and because of the volume he's trading, he marketed it out, and it ended up like moving the price on average 12 ticks up because of his. So he ended up from 150. That's denominated in Swedish crowns, so like 1/10 of a dollar.
Yep.
Roughly estimating. So it cut his profit down by 90% from fucking doing a stupid mistake. Like, Jesus. I just said, why don't you just trade ES or something, like, with a little bit more liquidity? It can absorb your stupidity. Like, come on. Get your shit together.
Hold on. Yeah, there's a niche, I think, for some people where you can scale your capital more quickly. But for the most part, I think it's often an aspect which isn't prioritized is scalability and predominantly trading instruments which are scalable.
Yeah.
Crypto, not scalable. But in capital efficiency isn't there over a certain amount. With equities, capital for quote unquote retail or undercapitalized individuals, futures are the most capitally efficient instrument to be traded.
Because of the leverage or
leverage, liquidity, and leverage and directional liquidity. You really never have to worry about short locates.
Nope.
The benefit of span margin, immediate settlement versus equities. Okay, equities are now T+1. But that's still in terms of the traditional framework of Frank Dodd after 2009 to quote unquote protect individuals and banking regulations. you ended up with T+3 and then T+2 in that settlement of funds, unless you have over $25,000 in an account, span margin is far more efficient.
I'm gonna hop off. Numbers, have a good trip if I don't speak to you.
All right, take care. Yeah, and you enjoy yours too, I think, this weekend.
Yeah.
Later.
Bye, Risky.
Yeah. A lot of the Swedish family offices are starting to accumulate swing positions in tech from here as a higher low or whatever. I'm confused.
I
With the
could potentially
targets.
see Microsoft.
They're doing it broadly with QQQ and SPX.
Okay. Yeah, I would really only have interest in main company. Yeah, probably Microsoft. I have more confidence in Microsoft.
I mean, if we get a flush lower, like below 3,500 on ES, which then would trigger Microsoft to be down quite heavily, I would pile into Microsoft as well, based on the value of their actual what they're doing compared to everyone else.
Well, the percent, I can't think of the percentage contribution which Azure makes to, but their cloud services are a pretty considerable component of their quarterly revenue and profitability. That's a utility. People don't decide, oh, I don't need as much cloud computing because they are dependent upon it. Be similar to someone saying, oh, I don't need as much water, and therefore they reduce their water usage.
Yeah.
Data consumption is only increasing. And I really want the antitrust case to go through with Amazon. Please. So
like if you're getting a 60% return on it immediately after a split up, then, well, I don't know. Is that the average 60%, or is that the estimated value increase?
Over a 1 year period, you're actually usually looking at 40 to 50% returns. GE had a split recently into, well, why can't I think? They split their healthcare division and a few others, and those have already returned 40% in a couple months. But with nice. Amazon, what?
That's nice. That's really nice.
And Amazon, please, antitrust case go through, because usually individual companies are, if you separate them into individual companies, the valuation of Amazon as a whole or conglomerate would be up about 40 to 60% in the span of 6 months.
Yeah, it could be impressive. I mean, I'm going to go in pretty heavily. Like, I want at least a 10% stake of my portfolio in Microsoft, like at the minimum. So
no, I have no idea what my portfolio is even doing.
No, but like you don't need to. But like I'm managing my own as well. Like that's the problem. I don't have the benefits of having a family office to help me with that. I don't know. Like I'm assuming like yeah. I'm assuming the other people involved in the family office knows what they're doing. So
yeah, they do.
Fairly well. So. Is it managed by someone externally from the family, or
no? We don't trust people.
I figured that much about, but I was the reason why I was asking was because of the performance fees or whatnot. So that's the reason why I was asking.
We have a few people hired to assist with research, but I'm considering with the current strategy on which I'm working. I'm very seriously considering saying fuck it and putting it on to 10%, 10%, 15% into this, even though I don't like equities.
Mhm.
but the returns I'm seeing on equities.
So 10 to 15% of what's in the family office, or 10 to 15% of the total net worth?
10 to 15% of my long-term portfolio.
Oh, okay, fair enough. So I was just asking because then you would have to split up a certain percentage of what you have allocated to the shorter term already. That's why I was asking.
Yes.
I mean, that sounds like a plan. If it works, it works. You know, like kudos to you. You've put a hell of a lot of time into it and effort.
I don't want to knock on wood right now, but
Well, I would suggest, like, if you're what's it called? Like, I can't remember the word. And if you believe in those kind of things, that you can jinx things by saying it. Then,
I don't. But
then
I'm waiting.
You're waiting.
Let's say I have reduced the parameters from over 90,000 to now 64. And those 64 different parameters can be applied to, actually, no, wait, 3, 9, 18, sorry, 54 parameters. So I went from over 90,000 to 54 parameters, which can be applied to any single asset that I want.
Yes,
Hey, I'll be back 45 minutes before FOMC, so I'll talk to you guys then. I'm gonna take a break.
Yeah, so I'm in the circumstance where my only concern is how much on a daily drawdown am I willing to accept? And it's not a drastic difference. For example, on NASDAQ, do I want to be comfortable with 2 days out of the past 9 months? I would have seen a drawdown of no more than 80 points per contract. But the returns over those 8 months were 22,000 points or so per contract. Or do I want to reduce the returns to 16,000 points per contract over the most recent 8-month period and have only 1 day with over a 50-point loss? Because the other, at nearly 22,000 points per contract over 8 months, is about 7 or 8 days with 50 points, or with only 8 days have a loss greater than 50 points. But I can reduce that to only 1 day with a loss of greater than 50 points if I'm willing to accept a reduction of about 30% or 25% in P&L. And that's really the only factor which I'm now finalizing is, okay, how aggressive do I want to be with this? And the only instrument where that doesn't matter is I actually can manage risk better with better returns on ES, but NASDAQ, crude, Russell, gold, if I don't want to, quote unquote, take as much risk, and the risk is still reasonably small, then the returns are going to be slightly reduced. But once again, this is on a per contract basis.
Well, that's crazy stuff. The returns. So.
Well, do I still have it? Yeah. Okay. So this is over an 8-month period. Let me change it. If I go to 50, I don't have the shorter term results because I reran it this morning, so it's not 22,000 right now. Oh, that's yours. Sorry.
It's mine.
Yep, I was about to say. And so I can reduce this number at the bottom to only 1 day with a loss of greater than 50 points. If I'm willing to accept reduced returns of about 15,000 per contract over an 8-month period. And that's been pretty consistent over the past 7 to 8 years. That's the only point where I am right now of, okay, to what extent do I want risk to be managed? Oh, geez. ES is the only outlier. Crude, if I want slightly improved risk management, then over the past 8 months as well, I usually like an 8-month period. With slightly better risk management, I am looking at slightly better risk management, 88 points or 8,800 ticks over the past 8 months. Or
have you looked at Brent in comparison to crude?
About identical.
Comparison.
About identical.
Okay.
But if I want slightly broader risk parameters, then those returns increase to 133 points over an 8-month period versus 88. So you see a 50% increase in that and Russell's the same. NASDAQ is the same. You're seeing nearly a 50% increase if you're willing to increase your risk slightly. And when I say slightly, you go from your largest losing day or 6 days with you only have 6 days over a 50-point loss on NASDAQ, and you can reduce that to 1. But in the process, if you're willing to increase 6 days out of 8 months to 50-point losses or slightly more, between 50 and 75 points, then you go from about 15,000 points per contract to about the 21,200 points per contract. Do I want to accept those parameters? Maybe.
I mean, like, okay, like, what's the? It's kind of hard to predict, but like the only time like I could see that being a problem is if it's like anything I can think of is like tail risk in this scenario, because it seems extremely good. So like, what's the tail risk if it were to, I don't know, like in like, is it possible that it's overfitted in any way, shape, or form?
Nope. And the reason that is so technically this runs on a 4-hour period.
Okay.
Technically, it's running on a 2-hour period. It takes the 4-hour period, splits it. It trains on 2 hours, runs on the following 2 hours.
Okay.
And the only parameter which is really changing in this is because I'm keeping it, there's slight variation in the higher performance, but there isn't overfitting. The only aspect which is being changed is the stop loss and take profit predominantly for each instrument. And that's predicated on the previous 2-hour volatility. So you have the previous 2-hour volatility determining how your stops and take profits are.
Yeah, I think I understand how it doesn't have really tail risk. Like it's the only reason where like I think it would be, I don't know any market conditions that would actually cause you to have catastrophic failure, more or less.
Oh, 2020 testing on 2020. Oh.
It had bad results during that period, or what? Like, or
because of the volatility in 2020. When you go from February 2020 to April 2021, you were looking at about 51,000 points per NASDAQ contract.
That's crazy. That's crazy. That's really fucking crazy.
That's a single contract too.
Yeah, and I know, like, and then the scalability of having, like, of course, you have to manage it so you have fixed risk or fixed dollar risk, so you don't have the risk of ruin due to position sizing or whatever. But otherwise, I think that sounds like a fucking great idea. Like, I need to improve on, like, I've gotten my motivation to start coding again, so like I'll get going on that as well. And I'm also talking to a guy that's he's not as efficient in machine learning as your guy officially, but like this guy studied it and I know him and I trust him
Mhm.
well enough. So I have been having some ideas as well, but it's more towards options than it is like mechanically doing it the way you guys are doing it.
Belisarius, the NASDAQ, we're modeling it on a per point basis rather than a per tick basis. So if you look at the stops are often about 6 to 10 points on NASDAQ, occasionally a bit more, occasionally 13 or 14 during FOMC, maybe up at 18. And that's where the largest loss over a 3-year period on a single day was minus 150 points. I'm fine with that. Largest gain was significantly larger.
I mean, as long as the average is larger than the losing, then that's pretty much, and the overall win rate. So, I mean, it's the expected value that you're going to get out of it that's important in this relation.
It doesn't matter. FOMC, all that's being modeled is what was the previous 2-hour volatility. And that's the benefit, is when FOMC begins, because of how it's modeled, the only circumstance where you have slightly larger stops would be going in. Sorry, it's 4-hour splits. FOMC starts at 1. So by the time FOMC begins, the data is trained on the initial portion. So your stops are going to be tighter, and you may take a few smaller losses in one massive gain because of the reduced volatility. And it doesn't. I don't really care about modeling it specifically for FOMC because the objective is your entries are identical. Entries aren't changing. All that's changing are how you're modeling vol.
Well, I'm gonna head off, Numbers, and everyone else in here. Have a good one, and I'll talk to you later. And good luck putting on the last finishing touches, even though it won't be done in the next few days. I think it'll take a little bit longer than that for you to be certain of the outcome. But,
I'm actually building, the pipeline's being built. I'm thinking end of week, beginning of next week. It's not going to be integrated into my main accounts, but I'm waiting for feedback from CQG, DX feed, bar chart for their API, because they are Rhythmic and TT don't use Python, and because my entire backend is in Python, I'm going to transition away from an API based in C.
Mm-hmm.
And once I finish that, probably mid next week, I would should see some live results, even though I already have been testing it pretty much live based on an API plugin. And this is the benefit of how it's structured, is because the model is training on 2 hours of data, and then the following 2 hours of data, it has no idea what's even occurring. And these are the results I'm able to see when the model has no idea what's occurring for the next 2 hours. There's a fair bit of reassurance that, okay, model trains, and then it goes live. Then it repeats that process, then the live performance. So 2 hours training, 2 hours live, 2 hours training, 2 hours live, and then that becomes a rolling period. It just continues to roll and roll. That's why I've removed most of the concern with overfitting, is the test periods has no idea what price is even doing. There's no leak.
How does it verify that during the testing period if it's accurate or not? Like the vol, so to speak. Like that it's like the parameters are set up in a curtain. Like how does it decide if it's okay based on the vol? It only like okay, let's put it this way. It only checks for the volatility parameters during the first 2 hours. It doesn't do anything other than that. And then the next following 2 hours, it trades it live with the volatility parameters. Or does it also during the following 2 hours where it's doing the live trading also check for the current volatility parameters for the next coming 2 hours? So it's like a rolling 2 hour period, or it actually breaks 2 hours, then runs 2 hours, breaks
No,
2
there's no
hours.
break. It takes
Okay.
over the 4 hour period, it trains on 2 hours. And the first 4 hours, you would have no trades occur.
Okay.
And 2 of the first 4 hours. Then once you have it trained on 2 hours, it's then going to run on 2 hours.
On the previous 2 hours, yeah.
Based on the previous 2 hours, then you go into hours 4 to 6, and it retrained, altered the parameters based on hours 2 to 4.
Yeah.
And so it constantly the parameters are altered every 2 hours based on the live running period of what occurred for the most recent 2 hours.
So basically, only time where it's not actually doing anything is the first 2 hours of booting it up.
Yes.
So yeah, that sounds like a fucking slaying machine. I don't know what to say. The only thing is just like how would you do it so it has a shutdown period or something similar to market close? Since it trades a broad spectrum of.
You put in a mask, and that mask sets the specific trading hours, and it restricts trading time to such and such period where trades are only executed based on certain parameters. But it looks as if we're going to be able to run this during Globex session on the major indices.
That sounds nice.
We've already tested it on HSI, and so NECI and HSI on HKEX, Japan Exchange. We're looking at maybe a few other markets. Well, also FESX, Boond, works pretty well on AGS. For shits and giggles, we put it on Fred, economic housing data. Once we have some more granular data.
Jesus Christ. Well, I really need to go. This was nice talking to you, Numbers, and I'll catch you later. Take care.
Yeah, bye-bye. Okay. Shit's about to become real. Who's ready?
Are we about to talk about biking?
No.
Ooh. I'm ready.
Anyone, and any people were here for this because I received several messages that claimed I trade such and such size. I don't. I don't even touch the quote unquote size that they were claiming. Not even close.
So you don't trade 30,000 contracts?
Yeah, no.
Split across one lots throughout the course of a 24-hour period?
Come again?
Nothing.
Not even anything close to what some person claims. Figure that would be disclosed after receiving several messages about, oh, somebody's claiming you trade this much. No, not even close.
So, question for you.
Yes, sir.
And this is based in ignorance. So last week, whenever I was airing all my dirty laundry about having a system that vaguely works, but definitely doesn't, you were mentioning how first in, first out would mess me up for slippage, which I mean, I obviously,
yes,
I do have slippage with how much I trade, or not the size, but the frequency. But what does first in, first out have anything to do with slippage?
That's your queue positioning.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
No worries.
I thought you were talking about kind of how your profit would be tracked or loss in terms of what, say I had 2 entries a couple ticks apart,
Mm-hmm.
and then when it tracks, I don't know how to explain that. When it tracks an exit, it would associate it with either the first entry or the second entry. I thought you were somehow saying.
No. So first in, first out is going to be your queue positioning, and that's why it's not particularly scalable.
Yes.
Is you often want to assume or model that you're going to be last in the queue for a fill, and that's going to result often in slippage, because if there's X amount of liquidity, someone wants more size, you're going to be slipped down to a lower price, particularly with your exits being a stop order, which is a market. For you to receive a quantity fill, if there is 500 lots of resting liquidity and you want to sell 5 lots there or whatever, well, you're going to be the last person in the queue. And if you're the last person in the queue and there isn't adequate liquidity, or it's quite possible you're going to be slipped, which is where scalability comes in. When you have an awfully tight stop and minimal take profit, if you try to scale that to increase the number of contracts, FIFO may screw you over, because you're then going to have to start to account for 1 to 2 ticks of slippage potentially.
Yeah, on average, I usually get like one tick, but obviously it is more than that sometimes on my stops. However, a lot of times I will have a stop set a little bit further. It depends on how order flow is acting, which I know is not your favorite subject. Trading off of a DOM is not your favorite subject, but I'll actually have my stop a little bit further away, and I will limit out.
Okay.
It ends up going over that top tick.
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't know if you remember any of that conversation, but
I was cycling most of that time, so I did not.
But regardless, it is definitely not something that is going to give me longevity. But right now, I'm break even.
I have to go for about 45 minutes. I'm cycling at 12:45, but I'll be back on about 15-20 minutes prior to cycling. I have a call, so everyone take care. I'll be back on in a little bit. What?
Yeah, fun.